Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Giridhari Dasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Giridhari Gopijana Vallabha Giridhari Dasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Dasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hari Bala Hari Bala Hari Bala Nitai Gora Hari Bala Hari Bala Gora Hari Bala Jaya Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajigacharya Shri Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Shri Radha Govardhana Bhagavan Ki Jai Shri Krishna Balaram Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Shri Gaunitai Ki Jai Gaur Premanandi. No, you can just leave it there. I'll just put mine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Morning, we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 21, Text 51. Yoken Vagnindra Vayunam Ningra Vayunam Yama Dharma Prachetasam Rupani Stana Adatse Tasmai Suklayate Namaha. Yoken Vagnindra Vayunam Yama Dharma Prachetasam Rupani Snana Adatse Tasmai Suklayate Namaha. Yoken Vagnindra Vayunam Yama Dharma Prachetasam Rupani Stana Adatse Tasmai Suklayate Namaha. Vagnindra Vayunam Yama Dharma Prachetasam Vaishnavis? Yoken Vagnindra Vayunam Yama Dharma Prachetasam Rupani Stana Adatse Tasmai Suklayate Namaha. Word for word. Ya, you who are cup of the sun, Indu of the moon, Agni of Agni the fire god, Indra of Indra the Lord of heaven, Vayunam of Vayu the wind god, Yama of Yama the god of punishment, Dharma of Dharma the god of piety, Prachetasam of Varuna the god of waters, Rupani the forms, Stane when necessary, Adatse you assume, Tasmai unto him, Suklaya unto Lord Vishnu, Te, unto you, namaha, obeisances. Translation: when necessary, you assume the part of the sun god, the moon god, Agni, the god of fire, Indra, the lord of paradise, Vayu, the wind god, Yama, the god of punishment, Dharma, the god of piety, and Varuna, the god presiding over the waters. All obeisances to you, who are none other than Lord Vishnu. Purport: since the sage Kardama was a Brahmana and Swayambhuva was a Kshatriya, the sage was not supposed to offer obeisances to the king because socially his position was greater than the king's. But he offered his obeisances to Swayambhuva Manu because as Manu, king and emperor, he was the representative of the Supreme Lord. Supreme Lord is always worshipable regardless of whether one is a Brahmana, a Kshatriya or a Sudra. As the representative of the Supreme Lord, the king deserved respectful obeisances from everyone. Yoken Magnindarvayunam Yarmadharma Prachetasam Rupani Stan Adatse Tasmai Suklayate Namaha. When necessary, you assume the part of the sun god, the moon god, Agni, the god of fire, Indra, the lord of paradise, Vayu, the wind god, Yama, the god of punishment, Dharma, the god of piety, and Varuna, the god presiding over the waters. All obeisances to you, you are none other than Lord Vishnu. So we see here the level of respect and worship, really, that Kardama is offering to Swayambhuva Manu. And as Prabhupada points out here, of course, that Kardama was a great sage and a son of Brahma. So his position was very elevated. And normally the king would offer obeisances to him. But here the explanation is given that Kardama is really praising Swayambhuva Manu in the previous verse also. You embody the protecting energy of Sri Hari. All about you are none other than the Lord Vishnu. He goes so far. You are none other than the Lord Vishnu. Of course, Swayambhuva Manu is not Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu in his position, but because he is so much representing Lord Vishnu, here Prabhupada translates this, and Kardama Muni says it very directly, you are none other than Lord Vishnu. So he has the a proper understanding, and he's able to discern who is a representative. Now, if someone is actually a representative, who is actually elevated devotee, then of course the Lord is very much present within them. The Lord is present in everyone. We, as the spirit soul, of course, are present in our body, and we are the spirit soul. That's our identity. Of course, along with us, there's the super soul, that is Krishna. So Krishna is there. So, we always address each other as Prabhu, or Master. That Prabhu is offered to every soul because they are connected to the Supreme, and also knowing that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is also within the body. We offer our obeisances. Of course, one has to have discrimination, how to offer obeisances, how to offer respect. Generally very great, elevated brahmanas, sages, great devotees, we bow down, we touch their feet. Krishna is very much, as I said, present in them. He's very much manifesting in them. Of course, as I also said, the Krishna is in every body. He's in the body of the tiger as Paramatma. So, of course, we offer our respects to all, whether it's great elevated Vaishnavas, Brahmanas, great kings, all entities, we offer our respects, but we have discrimination. If we bow down and we touch the feet of a great devotee, get the blessings. If a tiger comes before us and we bow down our heads, most probably he'll bite off your head. because that soul is in the body of the tiger and impelled to act in certain ways. So one needs discrimination, how much respect one is to offer, how to offer that respect, how to offer that worship. There's different ways to do it. One has to offer at a distance from the tiger, and so on and so forth. One respects that within the body of the tiger there is the Krishna, there is the soul within the body of the tiger. So one gives all respect to all animals, all insects. But at the same time, one needs to understand the different functions of the souls in those bodies in their given circumstances, and so adjust accordingly. So here we're finding, of course, Kadama Muni, he's very elevated, and Swayambhuva Manu. Normally the great kings would offer obeisances, but even before he could do that, Kadama Muni is offering his obeisances. Of course, he was told by the Supreme Lord that Swayambhuva Manu would come. But here it is mentioned by Prabhupada, his position as Manu, his Swayambhuva Manu. Manu is a great personality, given the responsibility, contributing to the laws governing mankind. We know that Manu, that word Manu, man has come from actually Manu, that word Manu. So he is giving, and there's so many different Manu. This is a title, Manu, and so many different personalities. In a day of Brahma, there are so many Manus, 14 Manus in just one day of Brahma. Of course, one day of Brahma is a long time, but still, the Manus reign over, and they are lawgivers. So someone who gives the law, in that sense, is offered respect if they actually qualify. Of course, these days, respect is given today, just like if you go to court and the magistrate or the judge walks in, everyone is expected to stand up to show respect for the magistrate, isn't it? Even today that goes on. The judge walks in, the magistrate walks in. Of course, we may not feel like doing it, but it's a requirement. Socially, I don't know, maybe even a legal requirement. I don't know the technicality of it, but you're supposed to stand up when the magistrate or the judge comes in. And so, someone in law. So you can imagine someone on the level of Swayambhuva Manu, the lawgiver. So he's given respect. So as a Manu, he's a king. So kings are special personalities if they're actually qualified. And an emperor also. Emperor is above king. There may be many kings in a country like India had many kings. There are no kings today, but they had many, many kings, but there was one emperor. So one emperor is above the king. So he had so many different positions, Swayambhuva. So Manu, king, he was a king, but he was also an emperor. And he was a representative, because he was a great follower of the Supreme Lord Vishnu, Kadama Muni, he could recognize that. He's a great follower. So such personalities are greatly empowered. The Lord works through individuals. The Lord can work through anyone and everything. Krishna is everywhere, and he accomplishes many tasks through working through different agencies. Of course, Krishna can come directly and work in so many wondrous ways, but also he likes to work through others. We know in Bhagavad Gita, for example, the famous verse, what is that? Kalosmi lokachaya pravrito lokman samayatamiya pravrita. He says, time I am the destroyer of the worlds, says to Arjuna, I've come to destroy all people. With the exception of you, all the soldiers here on both sides will be slain. And then he goes on to say that, therefore, prepare to fight and win glory, conquer your enemies and enjoy a flourishing kingdom. They are already put to death by my arrangement, and you, O Sabyasachi, can be an instrument in the fight, Sabyasachi. I was explaining about Sabyasachi, I think, last time I gave a class. Sabyasachi means one who is expert in firing arrows. Arjuna was very renowned. It is said that quite often he had two quivers, one on either side. He could fire ambidextrous in both hands. And he had 2 quivers pulling out the arrows with both hands. He was so expert. So he's referred to as Sabyasachi. And Krishna goes on to say, Nimitta Matram, you be my instrument. Oh Sabyasachi, you can be my instrument in the fight. In other words, whatever he decided, more or less the outcome was there, arranged by the Supreme Lord. But Krishna wanted him to do his duty as a Kshatriya and fight for the just cause, and he would win glory, and so was the case. So Nimitta Matram is very important here in that Prabhupada actually mentions the whole world is moving according to the plan of the Lord, but foolish persons, they don't have sufficient knowledge or they don't accept that this is the case, and they act in a very irresponsible way. So Prabhupada goes on to elaborate that there are many who say maybe the world came in this way, maybe the world came in that way, but it's no maybe or perhaps. It is all an arrangement of the Supreme Lord, and one should develop to the point of understanding that, and nimitta matram. And then the more one surrenders to Krishna, the more one is in union with Krishna, Krishna takes great pleasure in working with such a personality, and sometimes working through such a personality to achieve so many things. Even in the previous verse it was mentioned that where Kadama Muni was glorifying Swami Manu, he says, you are touring the world, you are there to protect the virtuous, kill the asuras. And since you embody the protecting energy of Sri Hari, he is very devoted to Sri Hari, to Lord Vishnu. So the Lord, especially kings, emperors, the Lord works through such personalities. And the potency to give protection, Prabhupada says here, to the pious and annihilate the miscreants and undesirables is directly an energy from the Supreme Lord. So these great energies that are shown by great personalities, we have to understand that the Lord empowers them to act, empowers the jiva, and his energy is there along with the jivas to accomplish many wonderful things. So here it is mentioned in the translation, Kadami goes on to glorify, when necessary, you assume the part of the sun god, of the moon god, of the fire god, of Indra, of Vayu, of Yama, of Dharma. In other words, the king can act in so many ways when there is deficiency, the word when necessary, when there is deficiency in certain areas, not enough rain, not enough wind, too much wind, these things, the kings take responsibility for these types of disturbances, and they act to counteract it. Of course, in the Vedic times, they would arrange all sorts of yajnas to propitiate the demigods, to satisfy them, and then right the situation to propitiate ultimately the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this is a more sure way of fixing the calamity. So therefore, the king in this sense, and although Kadama Muni says it very directly, it's not that Swayambhuva Manu becomes the sun god or becomes Indra. He becomes Indra or Agni, but he acts just like, he can act just like Agni. He can act just like Dharma, making sure all the religious principles are followed. He can act just like Yamaraj, punish the miscreants. So this was mentioned. So all these types of powers, Shakti, they're like Shaktivesh. Shaktivesh means empowered with Shakti. Of course, someone who's a very great devotee, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that they're empowered with Bhakti Shakti. Bhakti Shakti. They've got the Lord very much pleased with such a devotee, empowers them with so much devotion and so much energy. Lord Chaitanya, in the movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Chaitanya empowers very advanced devotees with bhakti shakti to be able to spread the Krishna consciousness, and he fuses them with his own energy. Someone with great power can understand that the Lord is very much working through them. Radhanath Maharaj, I know at one time, he came up to me and I was very embarrassed. He said, Maharaj, he said, I can see that the Lord is working through you. I said, well, I don't know about that, but maybe he's working through me, pushing me down. That's what I think. But anyway, I've heard him say it to many others, those who he appreciates in some way or other. He said, I can see you have been empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You have been empowered. So someone who can perform wondrously in devotional service and doing so many things, we can understand they have empowerment from the Supreme Lord. So the Lord, as I said, can manifest through anything and everything, but especially he likes to work through those who are very surrendered unto him. So Prabhupada concludes here, he says, as the representative of the Supreme Lord, the King deserved respectful obeisances from everyone. So we see that Kadama Muni is very humble, very, very humble, a symptom of someone who's actually advanced. They're very, very humble. They can, even the quality of humility, is an empowerment by the Supreme Lord. And we know that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he had four chief, he manifests different qualities through four of his chief assistants, chief followers. One, of course, was Haridas Thakur, and through Haridas Thakur, he showed very much, empowered him, and showed the quality. Can anyone think what the quality might be that Haridas Thakur showed? Tolerance and forbearance. Haridas Thakur was persecuted, whipped, but he tolerated, and forbearance. He just was able to do that because later on it was when he met up with Lord Chaitanya showed him the marks on his own back, that I took the whips from those who were whipping you. And so he was empowered. So he worked through Haridas Thakur, four chief devotees. Ramananda Roy is another one. Ramananda Roy, the Lord worked through him and showed the quality of conquering false ego and pride, especially Cupid's pride. Cupid is very proud, able to afflict everyone and anyone. But Ramananda Roy was so so absorbed in his position in Krishna consciousness, nothing could affect him. He would prepare young girls for doing dramas, and he would dress them and everything like that. Normally this wasn't done. But he was such an elevated devotee that no one thought anything of it. Even Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't think anything of it, because he was so conquered over all that no one said anything. Lord Chaitanya was very strict. He would immediately say something. But with Ramananda Roy, he never said anything. Because so through him, he showed that conquering the pride of Cupid is another one. And of course, through Swarup Damodar, his close secretary and assistant, he showed detachment. And anyone who wanted to present something to Lord Chaitanya always had to go through Swarup Damodar, and with an objectivity and even a little critical eye. He was totally detached. He would point out certain things that were perhaps incongruous with rasa and so on and so forth. So through Swarup Damodar and through Sanat Goswami and Rupa Goswami also, he demonstrated the quality of humility. Sanat Goswami, Sanat Goswami specifically mentioned, but also Rupa Goswami. We know when they first met Lord Chaitanya and Ram Keli, Lord Chaitanya sat under Kadamba tree there. and they came there, and they came, even though they were like ministers, they came with straws in their teeth, very humble, dandavats before Lord Chaitanya. So through Sanat Goswami, he very much manifested the quality of humility and empowered him to be so humble. When one time Sanat Goswami went to Jagannath Puri to go to the Rath Yatra, he became diseased and all sorts of sores. He didn't want Lord Chaitanya to touch him. He was so humble, he didn't think he wanted to contaminate Lord Chaitanya, but of course Lord Chaitanya embraced him. Anyway, and the sores all healed up and the disease went far away. But so these personalities are empowered. They have their own humility as very elevated souls, but they are further empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So today also, maybe I can speak a little bit about the position of Madhavendra Puri. Madhavendra Puri, today is the anniversary of his disappearance day. Now there's not much I haven't read personally, and I've done a lot of research at where exactly Madhavendra Puri was born. Some say he was born in around 1420, which makes his appearance 66 years before Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he passed away in 1490. That means he passed away at age 70. And he left this world at Ramuna. Ramuna is on the way to Jagannath Puri if you go down from Calcutta, you can go on the road there, and you go past Ramuna, and there's one very famous, Gopinath Didi, who's now very famous as Kira Chora Gopinath. That's a story and Leela in regard to Madhavendra Puri. But Madhavendra Puri is a very important acharya in our line of Gaudiya Sampradaya. We are known as Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. So the Gaudiya Sampradaya actually is a branch of the Madhva Sampradaya. Now, Madhavendra Puri was a great acharya in the Madhva Sampradaya, and he took initiation from Lakshmipati Tirtha, who was part of the Madhva Sampradaya, from Madhvacharya. But one could say, and I'll just read some statements from Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhakti Siddhanta, that he was a junction point where from him the Gaudiya line started. It evolved from Madhavendra Puri. And here is a statement from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He says, Madhavendra Puri was a well-known sannyasi of the Madhva Sampradaya. His grand disciple was Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One of the disciples of Madhavendra Puri was Ishwara Puri. Advaita Acharya was also a disciple. Ishwara Puri was their spiritual master of Lord Chaitanya. So now it's coming up to Gopurnim. We'll hear all these things on Gopurnim Day. But Ishwara Puri, he was a disciple. So Lord Chaitanya was a grand disciple of Madhavendra Puri, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur says here. His grand disciple was Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Prior to his appearance, there was no evidence of prema bhakti in the Madhva line. No evidence of prema bhakti in the Madhva line. In his verse, Aya Dina Dayadranata, there's a very famous verse chanted by Madhavendra Puri at the time of his passing, and he quoted from Srimati Radharani, who spoke the verse. I'll read that in a little bit. The seed of the religious doctrines of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu can be found. So this is a statement of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He attributes that the seed of the prema bhakti, especially Vipralamba. Now, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, he says, Madhavendra Puri was the first shoot of the desire tree of divine love that came out of the Madhva lineage. Prior to his appearance, there was no sign of the conjugal mood of devotion in the Madhva line. So, Madhavendra Puri, very, very important acharya. The feeling of separation from Krishna or transcendental Vipralamba is the only practice by which the spirit soul can achieve perfection. Material feelings of separation give rise to a despondency that reveals the attachment one has for matter, whereas the despondency that results from the feelings of separation for Krishna are the best proof of one's desire to bring pleasure to his senses, Krishna's senses. This was shown by Madhavendra Puri, the great soul who is the root of this movement. He is the ideal example to follow for anyone who wishes to serve the Lord. It is especially worth remarking that Mahaprabhu and his close followers later adopted this example and made it their standard. So these are two statements, one from Bhaktivinoda Thakur and one from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, stressing on the importance of Madhavendra Puri. So today's his disappearance anniversary. So he's very famous, of course, for traveling around India, going to all the holy pilgrimage places, and Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavat, other places, Bhakti Ratnaka, you can read of the a tour of Madhavendra Puri. Of course, Lord Nityananda, when he went traveling, he met up with Madhavendra Puri in Western India in a place called Pandharpur, very famous place. Pandharpur, ISKCON has a very big center there, Pandharpur. And so he met up with Madhavendra Puri in Pandharpur. And of course, Nityananda, Lord Nityananda was initiated by the same guru as Madhavendra Puri, Lakshmipati Tirtha. And so Lord Nityananda was not a direct disciple, but he treated Madhavendra Puri as a guru, because he was so much elder than him. Even though he was not directly a disciple, he treated him in that way. And when you can read this Leela in Chaitanya Charitamrita when they met. So Lord Nityananda met up and they embraced each other or in ecstasy, and later they went their own ways as far as traveling. But at some point, Madhavendra Puri reached Vrindavan, and he went to Govardhana and went on a parikram of Govardhana and went to a place called Govinda Kund. Who's been to Govinda Kund at Govardhana? Oh, a very famous place. I was just there last week or two ago. Govinda Kund, where Lord Krishna came after he put down Govardhana Hill, and one tank is there. So Madhavendra Puri, he went there and he sat there, and he was just in bliss, in meditation. So there, a cowherd boy came there. It is a very famous story, and said was a bit concerned that he was like doing fasting and everything like that, and he brought him some milk. And so that cowherd boy was so sweet, Madhavendra Puri was completely captivated, and he gave him a pot of milk, and he said, "I'm a cowherd boy. One of the ladies came here to get some water. She noticed you here, and she just told me about you. So I thought that, in our village, no one goes hungry. So I brought you this milk, and I'll leave it with you, and I'll come back and get the pot." Later that night, Madhavendra Puri had a dream where a Lord Gopal came to him and said that and took him by the hand and led him to a certain bush and said, "My deity is buried here, placed here, and the Pujari hid me here in fear of the Mohammedans who were invading. And so I want you to dig me up and install me and worship me." So there's a very famous story, and that deity was the Gopal deity. So Madhavendra Puri gathered some local villagers, and they came and dug up the area, and lo and behold, there was a Gopal deity was brought up, and Madhavendra Puri organized this big installation, Abhisheka, and great rituals, and great huge feasts, and so on and so forth of the Gopal deity. And so he stayed there, making sure the worship was going on of Gopal deity. Later on, he had another dream where the Lord came to him and said that, "I'm still feeling a little hot, and I want you to go to Jagannath Puri and bring back some sandalwood and camphor, and so to cool me down." And so that was another dream. So at that time, it was at that time that Madhavendra Puri went all the way to Jagannath Puri. But first of all, he stopped off in Ramuna, and he saw the deity of Gopinath. And Gopinath was so beautiful. At that time, Madhavendra Puri was in bliss, and a very beautiful deity. Those who have been there have seen the Lord Gopinath there. And then he was noticing all the offerings. The pujari was taking in the bhoga offering, and he saw that he was carrying in some pots of kheer, of sweet rice. And so he was looking at it, and he thought, "Oh, that looks so wonderful. If only I could taste it, then I could make it and offer it to Gopal when I get back." But then he felt a little ashamed because it wasn't yet offered. And he thought, well, here I am wanting to taste it even before it gets offered. So he felt very ashamed, and he just he sat through the arti, and then he just left, and he went to a marketplace, and he just chanted. He was doing chanting, repenting for even thinking like that. So later on, the Pujari had a dream where Gopinath came to him and said that, when you came to take the bhoga after it's been offered to me, I kept one of the little sweet rice pots hidden behind a curtain here and behind me. And if you go there, I want you to go take it and give it to the sannyasi who's living in the marketplace. So the Lord knew his desire that he wanted to taste that until he could make it and offer it to Gopal. So then he went out, the Pujari went out and found him. These are very famous stories. And found Madhavendra Puri and offered him the sweet rice. And then, of course, Madhavendra Puri, he tasted that and he was in ecstasy. After some time, he went on to Puri, and he was actually at this time well renowned as a great sage and a great devotee. And so many came to take his darshan when he went to Puri. But he, with their help, he was able to gather the sandalwood and I think the camphor and different things. He went back and stopped off Ramuna. He had another dream where Lord Gopal came to him and said, look, you don't have to bring the sandalwood all the way back to Vrindavan, because if you just apply the sandalwood to me here, to Gopinath, I will feel relief from feeling hot. And so every day for some time, the sandalwood was ground down and a paste was made. And it was at that time the hot season. And so that sandalwood paste was applied to the deity until it was finished. And then, of course, Madhavendra Puri went back to Govardhana and went on with the worship. Later on, of course, the Gopal deity is very famous, and he was moved because of invading, especially the Aurangzeb Mughal, who wanted to come and smash all the deities. He was the Gopal deity was moved for some time, I believe, to Agra and hidden in Agra. And then he was moved from Agra. He went to Nathdwar. I've been to Nathdwar a couple of times. Very beautiful deity. Another one of these temples where they open the curtain and then they close it again. So you can only have a couple of minutes darshan, just like Banka Bihari in Vrindavan. So Nathdwar is near, you go from Jaipur to Udaipur, and that is a Nathdwar deity. So Lord Gopal, that was there worshipped by Madhavendra Puri, he was transferred to this Nathdwar, and he's known as Nathji. So there's very famous stories in regard to Madhavendra Puri. Later on in his life, he went, and his final days were spent at Ramuna in front of Lord Gopinath. And on his final days, he was one of his final prayers was this one, very famous, Ayidina Dayadranata He. O compassionate Lord of the poor and humble, O Lord of Mathura, when shall I see you again? Without seeing you, my heart has become very much afflicted. O my beloved, I am overwhelmed. What shall I do now? So as I said, this was a prayer by Srimati Radharani. When Krishna left to go to Mathura, she was very much feeling separation, this mood of Vipralamba. So this mood of Vipralamba was very much exhibited by Madhavendra Puri. Ishwara Puri was his disciple. The Veda Acharya was his disciple. Nityananda Prabhu had met him and would more or less considered him as the guru. So very much in our line, this Madhavendra Puri was the seed of this Prema Bhakti and Vipralamba Rasa. So that Madhva Sampradaya, and then a branch comes from to the Gauriya Sampradaya, coming through Madhavendra Puri. So very important for us to understand how our Gauriya line came. And of course, when Lord Chaitanya came, he developed that prema, that Vipralamba prema, that separation. So Hare Krishna, thank you very much for coming to class and listening a little bit to Madhavendra Puri. We've got a couple of minutes. Does anyone have a question or comment? Yes, please. Yeah. Oh.
Thanks, Class March. Sometimes when we think of what our original identity might be in the spiritual world, we might be thinking of cowherd boy, gopi, whatever. I understand Madhavendra Puri, his original identity was as a kalpavriksha, desire tree. So I'm just wondering, is there any significance we could take from that as such an important personality who influenced the Gaudiya Vaishnava, culture, but he's originally a desire tree in the spiritual world?
Well, there's some controversy as far as whether that's just a figurative kind of, although that's in Ganadesha Dipika that he's listed as in Krishna Leela as a kalpavriksha tree. But others have said, I know Riddhananda Maharaj has got some reference from somewhere or other where he's actually, apart from a kalpavriksha tree, he also manifests himself as another personality in Vrindavan Leela. So I can't remember the name of that personality, but so the significance of desire tree, from the desire tree of fulfilling all desires, is symbolic in that vipralamba, that mood of separation, actually fulfills, and I think that is mentioned there by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, that he is the fulfiller of the perfection of vipralamba. So in that sense, he could be seen as a desire tree. But anyway, I don't know if that answers your question. But this is much. Yes.
Maharaj, if I will allow 1 minute in, I'm just noticing how when we were reading the sloka, it's Yama, Dharma. Yamaraj and Dharmaraj are the same person, yet is referring to Yama as in punishment and Dharma as in auspicious. So, actually, I can hands up as much as the principle of addressing somebody as in representing something is also illustrated in the courts. The worship, the magistrate is the worship, and the judge is Your Honour. So, and the same representative of it because they're representing law. There was a couple of things, if I can just retract this. Thinking how, when you read, if I can, with a humour, you were reading how Krishna says, I am the destroyer of the worlds, and it is that how Krishna says that he has come to engage all men. You've passed on, so many things to submerge ourselves in the day and the readings that you've given. There was something else that's crossing my mind. So if there is anyone else that has something else to say, here we can speak.
You're just making a comment, eh?
Yeah, Maharaj, it wasn't any question.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. Jai, all glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bo.